Well, religious book burning and the jailing of believers has now begun. It's like the book of Revelation is literally coming to life before our eyes. Now, what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the fact that 1 out of every 8 Christians worldwide is under persecution. And in fact, right here in the United States of America, I've got articles that I'm going to show you that intense persecution is hitting home for Christians right here in the United States of America. Over in China, the Communist Party is now rounding up Falun Gong members, Christians, Muslims, and Buddhists, or anyone who is in direct opposition to the Communist Party is literally being dragged off to re-education centers, also known as basically prisons and jails. Not only that, but their religious material is being burned in front of their eyes, including many of their churches. This is a scary place for religious people in the very near future. And as a Christian myself, this raises massive red alerts. But before I get into the report, I just want to remind you guys, please don't forget to check out my partner at noblegoldinvestments.com. Right now, if you guys get an IRA backed by gold, silver, or precious metals, they are giving away this Apollo 11 coin. This thing is a keeper, and it's amazing. I would love to buy a couple of these for my family members as well, but you get it free with any approved IRA. So make sure you solidify your profile and check them out at noblegoldinvestments.com. All right, so let's move on to what exactly is happening. Let's start with what's going on in China. And I want to take you to this report. And this is on theepictimes.com. Religious books seized and burned in communist China. Believers are being given jail terms. And this is a very recent article. You can see January 31st, 2021. Now, this has been going on for a while over in China, but they have really upped their attack these past couple of months. But the article states this: in communist China, practicing a certain faith, printing, or even reading religious books could result in prison terms and abuse. Spiritual believers in China, if you're a Christian, a Buddhist, a Uyghur Muslim, Falun Gong practitioners, are faced not only with brutal suppression of forced labor terms, but also they have their religious books burned or trashed at the hands of the Communist Party. And you see, the reason that they're burning books over in the Communist Party is because they've already wiped a lot of these books from online. You can't even get them online anymore. So a lot of the citizens have resorted to the physical books. Ergo, now they're burning the books. This is why I encourage you guys, get books from online, print them, have them on hand, because you never know what tomorrow holds. And right now, with the Communist Party influence over the new administration and how he's been really open to working with communist China, who is literally rounding up Muslims, Buddhists, and Christians, I've got a real problem with that and a real fear going into the future about where we're headed if we're a religious believer, right? But the article goes on to state this: the coercive policies are aimed at forcing religious followers to renounce their faith. And of course, they have to follow the communist ideologies based on atheism and Marxism. And in my opinion, atheism is a religion. You have to have faith to believe nothing at all, that we're just going to die and go into the earth, right? That's got to be a religion in and of itself. But here's the thing that's at the very core of Christianity. We don't force our religion on anyone. We don't say you have to be a Christian. No. At the very core of religion, at the very core of Christianity, God says people have freedom of choice and they have the freedom to choose what they want. And that's the beauty of it. But anyway, they go on to say that you have to follow the communist ideology. And this is the quote: "It is the work of the devil. The situation is becoming increasingly dire. The government, the Communist Party there in China, is increasing pressure step by step. In the end, they want to eliminate religious belief completely." And that's what they intend to do. Now, according to this magazine, it's called Bitter Winter, and it's a magazine that really focuses on human rights, religious liberties, and those things that are happening in China. But there is a church there, right? The Three Self Church venue is one of the villages under the jurisdiction of Lanning County, and it was demolished in July 2020. A county government official told the congregation that, and I'm quoting, All churches too close to institutions, government institutions, have to be destroyed. And also those that look better than government buildings. If you have a prettier building than our government building, then it must be destroyed. This is what they're literally facing in China. Belief in the Communist Party is the only religion allowed, and that's according to that Bitter Winter report there. But in another report, there's multiple, right? A magazine states that 26 people in this particular province in China were sentenced under the charges of illegal business operations. See how they word that? But what exactly for? Because it involved printing religious publications meant for internal circulation of the South Korea Good News Mission. Here's the thing. So these people receive, right? They were handed prison terms of 3 years and 10 months and 3 years and 6 months for just printing them, and also fined what would be the equivalent to $15,000 and sentenced to 3 years with a probation period of 3 to 5 years. For what? Printing religious material. Okay, and let me just pause right here because I think there's a lot to say. First, what's happening in China, we're now seeing happening in the United States of America. We're not to this point yet, but we're heading 50 miles an hour, if you will, in that direction, 90 miles an hour in that direction, right? This is why we have to start paying attention to what's happening in China. And I've been screaming this. If you've followed me for a number of years, especially on Restricted Republic, I have been really speaking. What happens in China is now happening. It's like the playground for the elite, if you will, because they've got all the control there. And then what happens there is it funnels out and it's happening in other countries, when in reality, we should be saving our brothers and sisters from religious persecution over in China, but we're not doing it. Instead, we're mimicking what they're doing. You see the problem? But that said, over here in the U.S., something like this could very easily eventually happen in the U.S., where they say, oh, you're printing books for religious materials that have been banned online. So therefore, we're going to fine your company. We're going to put you in a jail sentence. This is akin to what they're doing in China. They've not done that yet in the U.S., but I fear this could or may be where we're headed in the future. But and those religious materials could include things like the Bible, or maybe a book written by a conservative on Antifa, or whatever they want to include in this little thing, right? But they'll put it in a pretty little package for the American people and say it was hate speech. We banned this book for hate speech because it includes hate. And that's how easily they're twisting things right here in the United States of America. And let me tell you what I'm talking about, because I'm talking about things that are already happening in forms in the U.S. And here's the very beginning of what happens before Christians are persecuted, right? Or groups. And we're already seeing Christians kicked off platforms, conservatives. So you guys are well aware that this is already happening in the U.S. But now articles are being made directly targeted by Christianity. This is a new little leap, if you will. And this is on USA Today. But I found it originally on Newsbreak. And it's Christian nationalism is a threat, and not just from capital attackers invoking Jesus. Now, let me just pause right here. When you think of the word Christian nationalism, what the hell is that, right? What is it? Does that just mean you're a Christian and you love your country? Basically. So if you love your country and you're a Christian and you believe in the Constitution and freedom and you believe in the Second Amendment, you're now a Christian nationalist. So what other country are we supposed to support and love, right? I'm just thinking. And the other option would be a globalist. You're supposed to be either a globalist or a nationalist. That's really at the core of a lot of the things. But this is the thing. They're calling basically Christians who are patriots, a threat. A threat. This is USA Today and a very recent article published a day ago. But here's what they say. After the mob entered the chamber on January 6th, funny how they always go there, but one of them lifted their hands, the shaman guy, right? And he says, Jesus Christ, we invoke your name. Amen. This is the Q shaman guy with the horns, by the way. And he says that we want to send a message to all tyrants, communists, the globalists, that is in our nation, that it is our nation, not theirs. And they go on to say he's got white supremacist tattoo and the whole 9 yards. Just because someone says a prayer doesn't make them a Christian. Just going to say that right out front. But either way, it doesn't matter because they're using it as a platform to say, look, see look at these people, see what they're doing, right? The violence was roundly condemned. Of course it was. I condemned the violence. If a bit mealy-mouthed in certain quarters, people spoke of the criminal threat against members of Congress, staffers, and police. They lamented the violation of the sacred civic space and democratic norms. Many were especially dismayed to find police, veterans, election officials among the rioters, right? But they went on to quote Hawley. But Hawley, yes, they mean Senator Josh Hawley wants to live by his values, and they're simply talking about Hawley being a Christian. And it's not just Hawley that they're addressing, they're also addressing Cruz. And they're saying that this is somehow a problem. It goes on, right? It is easy to protest when white Christian nationalism turns violent. So the white now means just if you're a white person and a Christian and a nationalist, right? Within the chorus of critics, however, are a substantial number of Christians who plan to take the country for Jesus, one way or the other. Senator Josh Hawley, a leader of misinformation campaign that led people to, I'm going to just skip that. Speaking in his official capacity as Attorney General of Missouri in 2017, he proclaimed that pastors in pews meeting that their charge is to take the lordship of Christ, that message, into the public realm and seek the obedience of nations of our nation to influence society, even more to transform our society to reflect the gospel of truth and the lordship Jesus Christ. And they're bashing him for saying that. Here's what Christians believe, right? We know not everybody's going to be a Christian, right? But we believe that if you're Christians, you take those values with you wherever you go. That's a Christian by core. But never do we force someone to be a Christian like the Communist Party is attempting to do to Christians and Falun Gong members and Buddhists right now. God says, even in our book, it's personal choice. You either accept it or you don't. It's your relationship with Jesus Christ, not a commutative, where we force everybody to be a part of it. That's not how Christianity works. But here, this article is literally saying that's not welcome. You can't have a Christian view in the halls of Congress. It's interesting. They don't say anything about a Muslim view or a Buddhist view or a Catholic view or a Jewish view. Why is it always centered on Christianity? Why is it just that one? Or an atheist view? Are they really suggesting that there's only atheism allowed in the halls of Congress? Imagine what kind of Congress we would have if they were all just atheists. I mean, that's a religion, and that's we should treat it as such, right? That's my opinion, right? But then they go on to attack Ted Cruz, right? Because he talks of restoring America. What's wrong with that? Right? He means to recover what he believes as the original identity of a Christian nation. Okay, so because Cruz wants to make us back centralized on Christian principles, somehow he should be kicked out of office, right? And then they go on to say that we are called to exercise dominion. No, we're not supposed to control everything. They are really misinterpreting that. What it is we can influence it for our Christian, how we act and how we live. But a lot of this is really taken to a level, it's written in such a way that it makes Christians look like really bad people because of their beliefs. But again, no other religion is mentioned. Okay? That's the problem I'm having with it. And these are the first little nuggets that they start putting out there to make Christians look bad. So eventually you're persecuted and you're looked at by liberals. Conservatives are already looked at as conservatives look at liberals like they're people with bad ideas. But if you are a conservative, right, a liberal looks at conservatives as they're bad people with ideas. There's a big difference. And that's how they're now looking at Christians, because their cue from the top is Christianity's messing with our policies, right? Here's another article here. This is from The Conversation. The Capitol siege recalls past acts of Christian nationalist violence. Look, Christians are opposed to any and all violence, period. We've always been, right? But yet any act from a lunatic or crazy person somehow gets put in as, well, now we all need to be watched and monitored or whatever, fill in the blank, or over in China, taken to a concentration, re-education camp, excuse me. Who knows exactly what's going on there. But here's another article, and this is on the AP. Christianity was on display at the Capitol riot, and it should spark new dialogue because some guy wears a shirt that says Holy Bible. Right? The rioters who breached the Capitol on January 6th, leading to federal charges against more than 130 people so far, included several people carrying signs with Christian messages. I mean, really? A Christian message? And that represents all of Christianity. Not only that, but a video showed a man in a fur hat, the shaman guy, leading a prayer. So because he led a prayer in the Capitol building, now Christians are really? There's just so much going on. And on top of that, they're really making a mountain out of a molehill. But Christians, conservatives are all at the very center. And meanwhile, there is an escalation of persecution of Christianities globally. This is on Fox News, and this is very recent, January 31st, the escalating global persecution of Christians. Then we have TheGuardian.com. Christian persecution rises as people are refused aid in COVID crisis, according to the Open Doors report, very recent. And then, of course, this Forbes magazine, 1 in every 8 Christians worldwide live in countries where they may face persecution. And may I suggest that this is coming right at home to the United States of America. And here's the actual watch list, Open Doors USA. And you can see some of the worst countries that implement stuff against Christians. And North Korea is at the top because it's a communist country. And this communist country is the one that is literally persecuting Christians. And you can see China, another communist country, Vietnam, another communist country, that have all made the list as well. Communist, you could see, along with a lot of communist countries, folks, comes full-fledged religious persecution in all communist countries. And why do I get the feeling that's exactly where the U.S. is headed, especially in light of stuff like this? Breitbart.com. Left-wing columnists put the entire Republican Party on a domestic terrorist watch list. I mean, really? Look, it's really and truly where we're headed at here in the United States of America. And this is just one reason I tell you guys to start getting off some of these controlled platforms and join us over at restrictedrepublic.com. I can't stress it enough. And right now, I've still got the amazing special, the Trump coupon at $5 a month for an entire year. That's the cheapest we've ever done it. And it's a really amazing plan. But the good news is we can put uncensored, unfiltered content with no commercials that we've been putting on there. And you can see some of the things that we've been posting recently on the platform there. But lots of things are happening. So please get on over there to these platforms that are not controlled, because I don't know how much longer that we're going to be here on these alternative platforms. So check it out at restrictedrepublic.com, and don't forget to use that code Trump. Anyhow, I love all of you. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.